the audience. Have you ever experienced any gastrointestinal problems or stomach issues after eating a meal that was filled with carbs or bread or anything like that? If so, then you should probably listen up and learn a little bit about celiac disease. So celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder where the body will start to attack itself when the gluten protein is introduced to the system. So it is important to be informed of the pathology of the disease, the risk factors and symptoms and complications and treatment that go along with this disease in order to diagnose it as soon as it occurs. The biggest problem with celiac disease is that it goes undiagnosed 85% of the time, so most people do not know that they have this disease. The symptoms to look for would be diarrhea or bloating and some joint pain and excessive weight loss or weight gain or things like that, just kind of typical gastrointestinal issues. The reason that this disease goes undiagnosed most of the time is that these symptoms can go along with overeating, having too much at a Christmas dinner, or food poisoning, things like that. So that's why it goes undiagnosed. And there are consequences to this going undiagnosed. It is a cumulative disorder, which means that the damage that is done to the small intestine is not easily reversible. So as it progresses, you keep eating gluten, which is present in wheat products or barley or things like that, then the villi in the small intestine will continue to get damaged. And when this happens, your body can't absorb the nutrients that you need. So this will lead to osteoporosis because you can't absorb nutrients to make your bones nice and dense, or infertility. It'll increase your risk of cancer. It'll also lead to neurological disorders, which if you have this disease, there's a 50% chance that you'll have a neurological disorder that goes along with it. So the problem with this disease as well is that nothing can really be done to prevent it because it is mostly genetic. So if you have parents or grandparents that have it, there's a high chance that you'll get it too. But in case, you can try and prevent it with taking vitamins like vitamin B12 or vitamin D or iron, so that it will replace anything that's not getting absorbed by the intestine. So even though it is mainly genetic, there are risk factors that you can look for if you're not generally a healthy person. If you have type 1 diabetes or other autoimmune diseases like hyper or hypothyroidism, that will increase your risk as well. If you have Down syndrome, that will increase your chances. And the biggest thing to look for is the presence of a certain gene. It is the HLA-DQ2 gene, and this gene will be present in 95% of the people that have this disease. So it is very, very highly likely that if you have this gene, you will have this disease. So blood testing can be done for that, and that is the primary way to diagnose and treat celiac. Also, another blood test can be done to check for elevated levels of antibodies in the blood. So when gluten protein is introduced, the antibodies are what will attack the small intestine. So increased levels will show that you do or do not have this disease. And there's another kind of unique way of diagnosing this disease, which is called capsule endoscopy, which is a vitamin that you actually swallow that has a camera inside of it, and it'll take millions of pictures of your small intestine, and it'll show if there's damage that's been done. So I thought that was kind of cool. So since little can be done to prevent it, there's really no treatment other than just to be on a gluten-free diet. So here we have some people in my home that have to be gluten-free. So here's a baking mix and a bread mix and just some examples of things that you can eat if you are gluten-free, and you can find things in health stores that will work for this type of diet. So all this information I've gotten from some scholarly articles by Dickinson or the National Institute of Health or the National Foundation of Celiac Awareness. So those were some reliable sources. And in summary, it's really important to be informed on the pathology, the risk factors and symptoms, and the complications of this disease so that it can be prevented and caught early. And it is the goal, as quoted in the National Institute of Health, that by 2019 that 50 to 60% of cases will be diagnosed as opposed to the 15% that are being diagnosed now. So if you're having symptoms that are similar to these, do know that it can be serious, so take precautions that are necessary. Thank you.